Welcome to the Fitness Business School podcast, the show for fitness business owners who want to grow their income, increase their impact, and improve their lifestyle. Be sure to listen till the end of this episode because we have a brand new special offer exclusive for listeners. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, Pat Rigsby here again with another episode of the Fitness Business School. And I have my good friend and entrepreneur a million times over, Todd Earwood here joining me. And I could probably go a million different directions about fun things I'm going to talk about with Todd, but he is a partner in a VC firm, Half Court Ventures, that specializes in investing in AI companies. And that's a hot topic in our world. It's a hot topic in pretty much everybody's world. So I'm going to probably spend a lot of time picking Todd's brain about AI, among other things. So welcome, Todd.
Pat, I'm always glad to spend time with you, buddy.
I know it. And this is one of those interesting deals where it's not in a meeting or over lunch. So,
right.
Wow.
Or at the Brown Hotel or at the Drury.
Yes.
Or your living room.
Lots of fun.
I've been in a lot of rooms with you, Pat.
You know, that's the Royal Room is probably the preeminent room that we've hung out in, though, right? One of Todd's many ventures has been he's got a meeting space here in Louisville called the Royal Room, which is this beautiful meeting space, event space that we've hung out in. And man, there's like a throne and stuff. So that's kind of a
throne. That's right.
So, Todd, give us a little bit of your backstory so people have a little bit of context before we dive in.
Yeah. So, man, I'm a business nerd at heart. I have built 12 plus companies. I mean, in some ways, Pat, we're not too dissimilar in that we've been under the hood of hundreds of companies. I've been wider, probably, I think, in what I've pursued, but mostly in tech. The Royal Room you mentioned being the far anomaly, which is everybody did something weird during COVID. I bought land, built a building, and decided to open a venue. That is an anomaly. But I've been building tech companies for 25 years. And in the last 10 years, hold on, sweet girl, you can't come in here. My daughter's going to try to enter this thing. Go to see your mother. So I have, for the last 10 years, been investing. My former business partner, who you also know, Rob May, came to me in 2015 and said, hey, we should invest in early stage companies. I said, no, that's ridiculous. And the more we got into it, I was like, well, let's find, at least we can't spray and pray. Let's find a focus. And we were software guys, which is where we made our money. And so we went through these and we ended up in 2015 on artificial intelligence, as ridiculous as that sounds now. And we were early. And fast forward 10 years later, we've done 100 plus companies. And of course, the world's now aware of it. I think because of ChatGPT opened our parents' eyes to what this is, that you could chat with AI. But so, yeah, man, like as a business nerd who loves understanding how to grow and scale companies, it feels pretty congruent. And then as an operator, I sold my last company in 2023. My plan is to not go back and sit in that leadership seat, but instead we're investing in companies. Last year, we bought a company and we'll buy another company this year. And so all in the focus of tech and AI.
Very cool. And yeah, you've had a pretty diverse kind of set of experiences there. I mean, when I first got to know you, you were heavily involved in things like Chamber of Commerce stuff and even had a competitor to the Living Socials and Groupons of the world. I mean, you've seen all sorts of things.
Yeah, man. So I would say as an investor, I've gotten into hardcore tech side. As an entrepreneur, that's not really my forte. It's finding the angle. The Groupon competitor was, you're right, like using chambers of commerce to go into 109 markets as a sales channel. But I saw the ascension of Groupon. I went, well, that's not hard tech. I can build that. And like literally the first version, I could put my hands on the keyboard and build that out. But I saw the sales channel. And as this guy who loves sales and marketing, that was a grand opportunity. Unfortunately, you and Paul and everyone else and their sister started a Groupon competitor, and there was deal saturation and deal fatigue. And we pivoted and found a new world for that. But yeah, man, I think as an operator, I've got a method. I think we all do on how we grow a business. And I've got my method, and I look for external data, and then I test and I test and I test. And then I eventually put a little money into something. And if there's enough traction, then I try to go down the road a little bit further. And that's what my last company was by far the most successful. And yeah, man, I love it. This is what I love doing. Like, I love talking. Oh, you and I have done this for years. Like, I love talking about business. And you and I also share something else that in common, which is like, we love to learn. And we have gone and we've hired coaches, and we've joined masterminds together. And I'm never going to stop that. I was in Austin, Texas last year, being with the newsletter wizard of the world, like we talked about. And I went to his conference, and then that's what I do. I study, I learn. I'm never going to stop. I think that is, I believe, I'll speak for you too, is like, I think it's a big part of our success is like, we're not going to fall behind, because whatever we're doing today to be successful may not make tomorrow successful. And that way, that's been true for me on the investing side too. How do I stay up? Like, tech is changing so fast, so is business. So like, we got to stay ahead. And that's the way I try to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. Before we hopped on here, I was having a side conversation with Paul, who manages all things podcast and video for me. And we were actually talking about that very idea of, as a seasoned entrepreneur, still being curious and needing to learn to kind of see where the puck is going and skating to that point, right?
Yeah, man. Like, I don't, and then I like going deep on what will grow a business and applying that to business, and like, where are the angles that this thing could be. And you've done such a good job of this, I think, bringing to your industry. Hopefully we'll do some of that today, of like, here's this thing that's happening. It doesn't matter that's happening in manufacturing. Here's what it means for us in our world. And as an investor now, that's, I think, a value add I can bring to the table is when someone, typically technical or nerdy, was like, yep, that's fine. But trust me, this works in like 17 industries. We should be trying it in yours too. So yeah, dude, it's great.
Well, that seems like a pretty smooth segue into talking about, I mean, this is a fitness business podcast that's primarily fitness, sports, performance, health. Let's start to talk about where AI kind of fits in there, and maybe also where it doesn't, because frankly, there are probably as many places or more places that it doesn't than places that it does. So any kind of opening thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's nuance. So let's think of like, what is AI? AI is a set of technologies and not one. It's a group of many technologies. And so when you think about AI, I would look at it through this lens. It is AI, when applied to different use cases, has different results. It's not making everything better. It's just not. So when you think about writing, if you're Stephen King writing novels, AI is not going to make him that much better at all. So the top of the chain is not getting a lot of benefit from AI. Now, can it help you brainstorm an outline? Yes. Did I use it yesterday to rewrite something? Yes. Only because I'd fed it 50,000 words that I've written before, so it wrote it in my voice, which is a whole other thing, right? But if you think about writing, AI is not helping the top, it's helping the bottom. It's giving lift to the bottom. AI also can write code, different kind of writing. It's the opposite. It is actually helping, I mean, not to pick on Pat, but Pat can't write code, to my knowledge. And if he did, he's been hiding it from me for 20 years. So Pat can't write code. Could you go today and tell AI to write you code? Yes. Would you know what to do with it and implement it and build out a full software? You're going to reach a roadblock.
Yeah.
And the promise of like, well, AI is going to do all these things for us is it's actually helping on writing code at the top. So like, the really seasoned engineers are using AI and being better at their jobs because they can now fill these other tasks. And that's what I think about with AI, is that you've got to know where to apply it to help you and your business and your personal life. And figuring that out's got to be this piece of like matchmaking of like, okay, well, is this hype? Is it not? I think that's a very common thing. And so we always talk about the writing is like, well, every use case is a little bit different, and that's okay, right? But we got to figure that out. And it's hard if you're not inside the bubble to find out what's what. And so ChatGPT is like actually not the tool that I choose to use most often. Not because I'm some super expert, even though in some cases I probably am, but it's just that my use case is I use Perplexity more. Why? It's more search driven, it's more Q&A driven because the way I use AI is that. A tool that I would encourage everybody to use is I would find a Chrome, a browser plugin is like the easiest use case I think for AI. I've got one sitting right here. The one I choose is called Merlin or Glass. Those are the two I really use more than anything else. But Merlin lets me be on a page. A mutual friend of ours, Pat, yesterday, Daryl sent me an interesting article. I didn't read it. I pressed the Merlin button and I said, give me the 3 points, no subpoints. Boop. And I went, tell me more about number 2. Boop. I see what he's trying to say. Got it. Right? That saved me time. If you tell me it's really important and I need to read it, I'll actually read it. But I think about Merlin as this tool that lets me sit on top of a browser because most of us interact with, if we're on a computer, we're using a browser to access our software or applications. Merlin just kind of sits there and says, I can do things, and it lets you pick and choose what AI source or what they call LLMs, like whether it's ChatGPT, if it's Claude, Gemini, whatever you're going to use. That's where I think people are going to get tripped up is like, yeah, fine, stick with GPT, whatever the current version is. If you want like the lowest hanging fruit, to stick with that. If I'm writing words, I'm going to go to Claude or I'm going to go to my custom GPT, which is getting a little nerdy. But dude, I think of it as like, if we're going to use AI, I think writing and interacting, and we've had this in our phones for a while, right? We're like Siri or Google and Gmail will try to recommend words I'm going to say next. Not great always. We're going to see that get better, better, better. Today, I've got to do that custom thing where it speaks like me and writes like me. That is where we are today. Where we're going is going to be, that's going to be native. They have all this data about you. If you use Gmail and you keep using Gmail and they know everything you type, eventually that's going to become way easier. I think that those are the lowest hanging fruits is like how I interact and write and to communicate, right? Just communication is going to be there. If that's a chat bot or whatever for your gym, that shit exists, 6 ways to Sunday. And then people just have general fears, right? I guess about technology in general. But I look at it as the low hanging fruit, the tried and true method is querying things. Chatting is the interface. I don't think that's going to be the future, though. I don't think we're always going to see the chat being the way we talk to AI.
No. So, I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on here is because most of the people that you hear talking about AI in the fitness industry are probably people like me who went through one course in AI and all of a sudden are self-professed experts, right?
Sure.
I mean, AI is a world that you're spending a lot of your professional life in. I mean, so are there any things that you see now that give you maybe some insight on when it comes to like health and fitness places where tech plays a bigger role than it's currently playing? Because that's the way that I operate in health and fitness. Obviously, it's more of a personal coaching realm. It's a coaching driven gym model, not just a membership gym. So things that you see that, hey, there's a gap that this may fill, or this may replace something, or maybe this is the future where this is headed.
Yeah. So before we hit record, one of the things I said that where we're investing is we think we call it applied AI. Where can AI be applied to actually help business workflows? And I'm pretty agnostic to the industries. So part of this, I think, applies to all of us. There's things like we've invested in an AI bookkeeper. So that's one of those things where today QuickBooks will auto tag and go, hey, you've been buying from HostGator for the last 2 years. You've tagged it as web hosting. That's not AI, but I can know that over and over, I can auto tag that for you. So take that to a further degree and say, well, AI can start to say, well, I don't need you to do it 10 times to do it. I can start to predict, especially if I have a larger data set. So I think of it through the operations of your folks is I think you're going to see that the low-hanging fruit again on the marketing side is happening 6 ways a Sunday. Canva's doing really cool stuff to make it, for those of us who aren't designers, way better. I think that's only gonna get massively. You see these little memes and stuff that like this is what it was in 22, 23, 24. And through the years, the generative AI on the images side is way better. That's going to be only going to make massively more improved. So marketing, I think, is a low-hanging fruit there. If you want to run ads, you're seeing that inside Meta's ad manager and Google, where that's going to happen more and more. Experimenting around that, I think on the marketing side, on the lead gen side, on the thing that you're great at, the lead nurture side, AI is going to be doing more and more of that. I see that being a great place for your folks to start is on the marketing side. There's just a ton of money being dumped into that. And on the back office side. So what do we do as humans? I think of it this way. Technology, at some point, we had hammers and screwdrivers, and we only had tools with our hands. We had to operate and manufacture things. The machinery came around. The machinery started to change and augment the way we do our jobs and the way we produce goods. This is a digital version of that now. I don't think it's going to erase all these jobs. My brother-in-law is top 50 golf teaching pro in America, and he got spooked because he heard me talking about this at a family thing, and he was like, what's it going to do to my job? And I was like, dude, and I think this is true for your audience. The human needs at certain levels do not change.
No.
So just Brandon used technology to do film and show ball velocity, swing velocity, all these angles and stuff. He does that. But like, guess what? Humans want, and I do this for me and my fitness. Like my personal fitness is I want someone, I film it, I send it to Mike, and I'm like, Mike, I don't know that I'm getting my form right here. My lower back's hurting. I don't think it should be hurting on this deadlift. What am I doing wrong? Like, sorry, as much as we think AI, and look, every one of these people has approached us on investing in that shit. Like, oh, I've got this mobile app. You don't need to go to a gym. Just turn this thing on, your camera, and I'll tell you what to work out. Like, that's hogwash. I don't believe in that. I believe the human connection there supersedes, and the relationship supersedes the technology. But what's not customer facing, even the bot, sorry, I'm going deep on this. I hope this is helpful. But even the company is called BotKeeper that does the automated bookkeeping with AI. It failed really to sell directly to business owners.
Yeah.
So they end up selling through CPA firms. Why? Because the humans need to talk to the business owners who trust them to go. They didn't feel comfortable letting the robot just automatically handle all the finances, even though a lot of business owners do not want to touch the finances, right? They want to do the thing that they're great at. And so what do? Well, okay, we pivoted and said, okay, let's sell through CPA firms. And there's still a human connection. So I think your audience in that regard is much like Brandon, my brother-in-law. I think you're going to win in that area for ages to come. And of course, I consume a lot of your content, Pat. So I think with the advent of people can take shots, people can do a lot of alternatives to get healthy. We can take pills, we can take shots, we can do all kinds of weird shit now. You're going to win on the human connection. You're going to win on the community connection of multiple people, right? Like that was a part of my fitness journey was I was doing this by myself. And then I joined a gym and now I've got friends in the gym. The AI's not going to take that. Like, no. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. So I think there's other needs there, but you guys should be thinking about, and the way we think about it, where we're putting our money is how do we gain more customers, change the top line? How do I efficiently operate my company? Bottom line, that's where I'm looking for opportunities.
Yeah, I think that from my limited experience with any of this, it's very much at some level, human accountability matters, right? Like
I've heard you say this. Yes.
If I get ping from an app that I should do this at this time or whatever else, it's easier for me to ignore that than it probably is to ignore you saying Mike reached out to me.
Yeah, I text Mike when I really started getting hardcore into the fitness again. I had two people, Mike and Daryl. And every single time I worked out, I took a selfie to show I'd been sweaty, and I sent it to them. And I was like, boom, and I put the log this many times, like keeping account. And if that text didn't come over to them, I received text, right? And that accountability, you're right, man. Like that was a massive mover for me to get healthier, was getting those two guys, Mike, who works in the industry, and Daryl, who's just committed to his personal health, were very helpful to me. But you're right, can't take that away. AI can do things like I look at it this way, take tasks. What task do I not enjoy doing? Could I trust AI to do? I think that's a big piece of this puzzle, is like, what could I trust it to do? I don't want to let it do these things because it could screw things up. Fine, I agree. But there's a lot of menial tasks we don't like to do. And I've seen this through a lot of your content before too. If you kind of look at the operations of a business and go, where are you spending your time? I've seen you do this before, right? Log your time. What on this list should you not be doing, right? I think the new thing is, well, there's AI could do some of those things, just like you bought software to do things. That's the next step. And then to go futuristic, there's this term that you're going to, if you haven't heard, you're going to keep hearing about it. The current way that's being labeled is AI agents. And I think the future there, if we're prognosticating, is you're going to have teammates that work in your business, and you're going to think of the AI agent as a part-time 1099 employee. And you go, and nerds are naming it to get better acceptance. Like, hire Max, and Max is an AI agent, and you turn to Max to do these things, and Max is really trained to be world class at this, whatever this thing could be. It could be writing, it could be following up on email. That is real, and it's happening. And I think we're going to have this augmented team model of like the way we think about, you would hire an ads person to do this. You're going to have AI agents do things. We're seeing that every day of my life. Somebody's hitting us up on that. We saw a great one yesterday, and it was like a daisy chain thing of like, Agent Max does this thing and hands it to Pat. Once Pat does it, Pat hands it, because Pat's a human, sorry, Pat hands it to Bill. Bill is an AI agent again. That's a workflow process. So think about what you could do to make the customer experience better. AI can do a lot of that, right? As long as there's that human connection and accountability, you're good. But the getting there to all the way, the last mile, I think of the humans being very important. How we get to the last mile, that's a lot of efficiency opportunity.
Yeah, it's interesting. We used to talk about software that way. I mean, and ironically enough, like the way that you and I actually got connected was through Infusionsoft in a pretty unexpected way. But I always thought of Infusionsoft that way, right? Like I mean, instead of having a tickler file of who to follow up with, you have automated emails going out. Or instead of me manually sending my daily email to tens of thousands of people individually, it's doing it for me. So, I mean, it's the same concept, just far more skillful, and the ability to train it to do a lot of different things and probably be more adaptable. So
that's right. I think of it this way too. It's like some other low-hanging fruit for all of us to use. That once I saw this and started implementing it, things got way easier. Today, the way you interact with AI is largely chat. And what do you need to do to chat? You have to prompt it. You have to ask it to do something. The best way to write a prompt is to ask AI to tell you what to do. So this is what I do. Like, once somebody showed me this, I was like, oh my, a couple of years ago, this made my world way easier. And it was, I'm trying to accomplish X. What do I need to tell you because you are a what? And then I name the skill. You're a world-class marketer who knows the fitness industry super well, and I operate out of Rochester, New York, and the dynamics are like, you could go down that rabbit hole really deep, but if you want to keep it simple, it's like this name, I'm trying to accomplish this, and I want you to be this person to me. what do you need to know for me to do this? And it will tell you and go, great, but I need a prompt that I can copy and paste. And so this is where AI thinks it's like it's actually giving a task to somebody else, not itself. And it will tell you, do this. And you go, great, I do this for the Excel. I'm probably an 8 out of 10 in Excel. My brother's a 10 out of 10. I'm an 8 out of 10 in Excel. If I bump into any issue now, I go, boop. Hey, you're a world-class spreadsheet master. What do I need to do to make Google Sheets do this? Because I'm sick and tired of figuring this out, right? And it will instantly tell me what to copy, and then I copy paste right back to it. And it goes, oh, this is what you want. So that's like an easy thing to do. If you where should you apply AI? Where you're spending too much time, where you're running into roadblocks, you don't know how to get around them that are technical. Easy fix, right? I think we're going to see that. I mean, we're already seeing the statistics. I think are 20% estimated reduction in search engine traffic because people are going to AI instead of Google and whatever else. That's an easy thing to do.
Very good. So I know I've kept you on here for a bit. So one more question and we'll put a bow on it. So this is a big one. So what's number one thing, fitness or not, whatever, that you're excited about in the future of AI?
I'll start with the way my brain works, Pat, is I rule things out before I get to what I like. So what am I not excited about? Not excited about generative AI. That's there. Yeah, you can create images, text, writing. That's already more mature than other areas. I'm excited about two pieces. One, the agent space of like, what does the team member look like? Because I'm seeing so much of that today, and it's more of an infant stage. So I'm excited about where that's going. And I think other piece of that puzzle is as an investor, I'm very interested in what are the compliance opportunities? Because if you think about what happens if the lights go out in your facility, in your gym, or the HVAC goes out, there's problems, right? That we have problems. We're going to be so dependent upon AI, and we're going to use it for so many things. Just like if your website went down, or QuickBooks goes down, or HubSpot, or Infusionsoft, like we can become dependent upon things. We're going to be dependent upon AI for different things in the future. So then the investment opportunity is like, well, what is the compliance and risk? Who's handling that? Because there's going to be opportunities there as an investor. As a business nerd, it's the agent. What are you going to use it for? I literally think you're going to think of them as a human. You're going to name them. And as nerdy as that sounds, you're going to have these AI teammates. They're going to do tasks for you. And then you're going to we're seeing it now. There's marketplaces already where you can go hire them. And the agents are going to hire other agents for you. Like you're not going to go to lawyers review your contract. You're going to go to an agent and go, read this. And then the trust comes in probably at the end to go, well, let's also give it to the human in our backyard to read over this contract. And I think that dissipates. So agents, compliance.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, there's so much stuff that kind of flows into the industry. Hey, use AI for this or don't. And maybe they're well-meaning. Maybe it's a money grab. Who knows, right?
Both.
I figure the guy who's part of a fund investing 9 stuff might know more than the average gym guru. So we go to the source here.
Yeah, man. I'm happy to help. I think we're doing a better job. So good at the content side. We're doing a better job of publishing it because so much of what we do is super nerdy. But because what do we care about? It's like, well, how do we apply it in our businesses more than our personal lives? That I think the personal life is a whole other angle. Dude, we're getting better about sharing those notes too and being more public about it. So this has been fun.
Awesome. Well, guys, I'll throw some show notes out here for all the fun stuff. I know Todd mentioned a few different things, and we'll share some of those resources for you. But thanks again, Todd, and that's another episode of the Fitness Business School. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Fitness Business School. Before you go, I have a quick announcement. One of the things that we've been doing with our current clients is taking them through this ideal business diagnostic. And really what it is this checklist that allows you to pinpoint exactly what your business needs next so you can keep improving, keep growing, and build a business that you love to own. One that pays you well, one that allows you to have the impact you want to have, and one that allows you to have a lifestyle that you truly enjoy. In this diagnostic, we walk through everything and we do an evaluation and can instantly pinpoint what you need to do next to build that business that you want. I'm going to extend this opportunity to get on with either me or my team and take you through this evaluation and fix your business's most vital needs fast. So if we take you through this, you're going to be able to make those vital changes that you need to finally have what I call your ideal business. If you'd be interested in going through this entirely free, risk-free diagnostic with us and learn what you already have in place, what you're doing well, and where your greatest opportunities for rapid improvement are, just shoot me an email with diagnostic in the subject line to pat@patrigsby.com. Again, an email to pat@patrigsby.com with diagnostic in the subject line will get you scheduled and take you through this evaluation to help you build the business you want.